Hey guys, welcome to another one of our reviews. I'm Worm, this is the Proton. Today we're going to be doing a review of a clone. Yeah, Mr. Proton bought this one, but it will not affect our review in any way, shape or form. Join honest as always.
What we're doing today is the Ground Vapor Trident clone from Fastech. Alright, normal kind of stuff. Most of you guys will be aware of the Trident by now. It's been out for a little while. The clone's been out for pretty much just as long. So yeah, that is what it is. Alright, let's just get it out of the way. That's done. We'll come back. We'll have pricing details and stuff for you in a second, guys. We're going to do a quick rewick and we'll have a little investigation. And yeah, we'll let you know. Basically, the prices seem to fluctuate on Fastech depending on popularity, and I think this has become quite popular on there. So I think it's probably going to be slightly more than what I paid for it right now. But there you go. So we'll go into a quick rewick and a little uppy close, so you can have a little look at it. And we'll come back up to us and have a nice little vape. Right guys, this is a little uppy close of the Trident clone from Fastech. Just a quick sort of around the thing. This is drip tips included with it. As you can see, it's sort of stylised to blend, I guess. So that is what it is. Going around the body, you've got one hole there. You're on your air hole. Sorry, at the moment that one's blocked off. You've got ground vapor. And the Trident next to that there, your little Trident symbol, and then you've got your other air hole here. Fairly simple stuff, to be honest with you guys. It's kind of almost like a bolt effect around the edge, you can see there, and in the bottom, standard 510 drip tip, copper contact, copper connection in there, so good stuff for that. Taking the thing apart, it's not as easy as it might sound. A 510 drip tip, be aware guys, straight away, that drip tip welder doesn't take all 510s. We've had about half of the ones we've tried and it haven't fitted properly, so just bear that in mind. To pull the rest of it apart, I'm going to need to get a mod, so we'll screw it onto this mod very briefly, and then basically top cap off. I might go into the deck now. Obviously 3 posts, your middle one is your positive, and then you've got your 2 negatives on the outside, and insulation on the positive one obviously, and then there's a very slight sort of drip well in there. It's not a massive one, but it does do the job, and a couple of very beefy O-rings around the outside here. I've been using this for a couple of weeks, this Trident, and I've got to be honest with you, they're still tight. So yeah, breaking period on them O-rings is big. At the top there you've got your positive and negative sort of screws, and they are flat head, which is kind of good and bad at the same time depending on what your preference is. We'll stick that down for 1 minute, and then going into the rest of the cap, again after a bit of pressure, and then your 2 top pieces. Okay, like I say, this one's just 2 holes, 1, 2. They're about 2.5 mil, these holes, about 2.5 mil them holes in the outer body. And then you've got your internal cap, which has loads of holes. You've got that one there, which is the biggest of the lot for a single coil setup. You've got the next step in the line would be this one. I don't know if you can see all the way through there guys, but that one is actually your dual coil hole. There you go, you can see through it there. That's about 1.8 to 2 mil, there or thereabouts. And then you've got some more single coil setups there. You've got a sort of what I would call medium sized hole, about 1.5 mil, and then you've got a very small hole, I'd say about sort of 0.5, 0.8 there or thereabouts. And then you've got an even smaller one on this side, which is no more than 0.5 for sure, that one. It is very tiny, and then obviously you've got your opposite, a 2 mil hole, 1.8 mil hole for your dual coils. Again, double O-rings on here, and they are again very tight, not as tight as the ones on the bottom cap, but tight nonetheless. Yeah, that is what that is. Those 2 pieces fairly easy. I'm going to do a little rewick for you. Very simple stuff, hopefully. Let me just get these caps off. With these posts and the screws on these posts, just undo them. They have, I'm sure you guys probably would have seen this by now, but just in case you haven't, they have got slots cut into them. Oh, going the wrong way. Hopefully you can make that out. Now you can, depending on what gauge wire you're using really, you can sort of undo it most of the way, like so, and just sort of thread the wire through it, but the best way I found is to take them off completely, drop your build in, and then you can screw them on afterwards. we're going with a bit of sub-ohm cylinders today, guys, so make sure you know what you're doing if you are going to do this. What we've got here is, this is a mammoth wire, this is some 0.5 Canthol, and we compare it to something like that. And you've got to bear in mind, guys, that would be considered a thick wire. That's 28 gauge. This is 24 gauge, so we are going quite low today. What we're going to do is, this is a 2mm drill bit. We're looking at about 8 to 10 wraps, there or thereabouts, as close as possible, microcoil styly, but sub-ohm microcoil. Sorry guys, I'm just paying attention whilst I do this. And I think we'll stop at about there. That's 10. I'll undo that one. So that's what we are sort of left up with. What I tend to do at this point, because the end two legs always tend to fray off slightly, so I tend to grab a pair of pliers, grab my wire here and give that a good tug, and grab this wire here, give that a good tug, and that tends to pull them end ones in very slightly, as well as sort of squeezing it together. So that is our coil so far. What I will usually tend to do is blow torch. I don't think I'm going to bother though. I think what we're going to do is just get that seated. I tend to, obviously with your two tails coming off the same way for the Trident, I tend to have the one that's coming off at the bottom in the centre, just because that centre screw is harder to get on. So we'll cut that down slightly there. And then literally all you do is sort of drop your coil in. Hello, your drill bit falls out, which is always helpful. I keep the drill bit in as long as possible, guys, just because it means that your coils can get impacted less, and sort of sit her in like that. That's what I do. I fold the tails over just to make it your life a bit harder, obviously, than easier today. On camera, guys, you know how it goes. And then once you've got one of these legs connected in, it's a bit easier because it tends to hold your build in like so. So now you've got that one in. I will then tend to sort of just get it so it takes the thread, and then worry about screwdriving in it afterwards. I mean, the advantage of them being flat is I suppose you don't have to use a screwdriver, a knife will do it, but screwdriver is preferable. So that's kind of where we are now. As far as doing these up, I know a few of the guys on the Facebook have had issues with theirs, where they've not necessarily over tightened them, but where they've gone a bit sort of happy and broken the screws. Neil, Graham both spring to mind. They do use sub-ohm wires like I do, and they do tend to do silly things like I do. That's where we are at the minute, guys. That's our coil around the drill bit. In there, they are secure. What I'll then tend to do is, opposed to trying to clip them really close, I'll bend them up the back, get the tweezers or nail clippers in behind, and sort of cut it like so. Hopefully you can make that out because of bloody focus, like so. Between focus and glare, guys, I can imagine this is quite a difficult watch. We will sort something out about that, I'm sure. And then I'll just make sure that these wires are going to be pushed against the body, and that is where we are at the minute. Okay, then I just literally remove the drill bit. As you can see, to be honest with you, the coil cast hasn't come out too bad, but we're just going to test it because no doubt it will go wrong. That copper pin is adjustable, guys. It's not got monumental amount of adjustment in it, but it has got adjustment in it, which is obviously a plus. Not a problem with this mod though. Then what I tend to do is just literally put a bit of power through it and see how we light up. Okay, as you can see, there's a big hot leg on one end. That's where tweezers come into play. Literally, I crimp the coil. Obviously, you've just put heat through it, so whilst it's still warm, give it a little crimp. It will start to heat more evenly, and just keep going, and you will get there. We are pretty much there. Give it a nice little crimp on the outside, and that is pretty much what you're after. Obviously, being this thick wire, it does take a fair bit of time for that to cool down. Still one little bit in the middle I'm not entirely happy with. Sorry guys, I know this is upside down to you, but I'm still not happy with it. There we go. Okay, so obviously you've got your even lighting. Like I say, guys, if you are going to replicate this, just make sure you know what you're doing. Your batteries are safe. This is a 30 amp battery. and all of that normal patronising stuff that everyone spouts, including us. What I'm going to do very quickly is just test the ohms of this. Of this wire, this is a very low resistance wire, so I know this is going to be low. I'm guesstimating around about 0.5 ohms. That's how we roll. 9.9 ohms because it's not making a connection on the ammo. Always fun. I'll tell you what, I'll try and adjust this centre pin slightly, bring it out of touch, and see if we can get a decent connection going on there. If failing that, we'll try a different one. Let's screw that back on. And I hope you can see that. 0.6 ohms, that will do me just nice. To be honest with you, we tend to vape around 0.6 ohms. But we found as opposed to doing sort of just 3 reps or 4 reps of 28, with this kind of coil set up, it tends to hit a lot better and the flavour tends to be more intense, which is obviously why we take a bit more time to do it. Let me just clear some of this stuff away. And we are going to be running it on cotton, guys, so I'll just grab a bit of that as well. Organic boiled stuff, no big surprises, to be honest with you guys. It tends to be the big trend at the minute, and we are kind of well on board with it because it does work really well. So all I do, same as the rocket video and others before this, make a sausage like so, and then one end really tight, just to give you something nice to thread it through, and literally thread that through, put it in. You don't want it to be too tight, which that kind of is a little bit, if I'm honest with you, so we're putting it out, starting again. It's a great thing about cotton though, guys, you can just pull bits off of it and add to it. It's very forgiving and it works really well. So let's try again. Through there, and that's about right. You want to be able to back and forward it, no real resistance. Now what you do with it is entirely up to you, to be honest with you. What I'll tend to do is cut off the bit that I've made quite tight, just because it's going to suffer to wick a bit more, and then run it round the outside just so it kind of sits there. This is always easier if you've got juice on these wicks, guys. And then I'll tend to cut that one now, about that length from it. I tend to split this down the middle like so, and I'll run one half of it in between the posts like that. Sorry guys, if you was hoping for a dual core setup, you haven't got one, but that's just come to me. But basically run it in post like that and run it around the outside as well, so it kind of gives you that kind of thing going on. It looks a bit of a state at the minute, but cotton always does. And then lastly, I will grab a smaller bit of cotton, as you can see, quite a little, roll it up, and I will bash that underneath the coil just to give it a little cloud to sit on, like so, if you can see it. There we go. So that's kind of what we're left with. What juice we're going to run with this? Run it? I should run it. We'll run this. We'll run this one. I think it's going to be a bit more easy to vape. And then priming, guys, it's just simple stuff. Make sure your cotton's well saturated. Make sure your coil gets plenty of juice for the first prime especially. Run it around the edges. Cotton does love the juice. It loves to hold it, and it does it very well. So we're pretty much primed. With cotton, I tend to like to leave it for a couple of minutes just to make sure that it's all properly absorbed. This bloody camera is doing my head right in. Combination of shadows and glare, but that's kind of where we are now. If I then grab my mod again and stick it back on and give her a little there you go, lots and lots of vapour. Again, like guys, if you was hoping for a dual core setup, sorry to disappoint, but to be honest with you, doing this kind of setup, just haven't found the need for one. So that is that. As far as putting her back together again, I juice up these O-rings just because without it, it does make it a bit of a chore. Even with them juiced, they can still be a bit of an issue at times. So I get plenty of e-liquid on those. Obviously line up your outer body air hole with your coil, so about there, and give that a good push. As you can see, even with juice, you're getting a little O-ring gap there. And then at the top, same thing. I mean, especially if you are planning on using the feature of adjustable air hole, you're going to want to make sure you've got a bit of juice on these, just because it makes sliding this round without taking it off a hell of a lot easier, if we're honest. So get some juice on those. run that around with our finger. Now, as you probably expected, guys, we're going with the biggest air hole, which is that one now, and then push that one in, push her down like that, and then grab the drip tip, which is here, and pop that in. Like I say, guys, not all 510 drip tips will fit, but that is a little sub-ohm micro on the Trident single. We'll come back up to us now and have a nice little vape.
Alright guys, that was the up close and rewick of the Trident clone from Fast Techery.
Dugan. Right guys, we did a little bit of a look. Price on it, it's actually still the same as what I paid for it, £10.74, which is a very reasonable price for a dripper. As you can see, same as a Trident, designed for dual coils or single coils, because you've got the adjustable air feed in there. I know that the holes are slightly off compared to what the actual Trident is, by sort of 0.1 of a millimetre and that kind of thing. So there you go. You can pick your choice. To be honest, it's airiest. It's going to be more than airy enough for most. Maybe if you like a really airy dual coil, you might need to drill it slightly, but that is what it is. Materials all stainless. Obviously copper centre pin. Which is good for conductivity, getting the power in. I've got to say it does hit quite well. A quick note, briefly, I know a couple of the guys have broken the negatives. Sorry, one of the negative screws. Neil's 1 grams another, or a header at least or something. But they've both broken something. So with over tightening, be careful. I know that Neil's kind of said to me, don't use anything sort of really thick wire before I got mine. Sort of like, but he was using 0.42, I think. I've used it on 0.5 dual. And I haven't had any issues, but then Neil, like myself, does have bare pores, and yeah, I think if you really over tighten this, it's going to cause you issues which probably are in my foreseeable future. So just be aware, don't over tighten it. Like we said out close, you can lift it off so the screw is still making contact and pinch it through, but I love being able to take it off and just drop it in. Coils are exactly where you want them, no pissing around. It does make the setup quite nice. So there you go. And again, sorry if you wanted the dual coil set up in that video. I haven't been running it with dual coils, to be honest with you. I've tried it, but I found it to be my preference for single. So there you go. It does say something about the device when I can have duals and I don't.
To be honest though, this thing at standard with the single air hole, which is what, 2.5, around 2.5. It's like the perfect draw. It really is. I mean, he would always drill out his stuff, and I do tend to drill mine out a little bit wider, but nowhere near to what he normally does. But he hasn't even seen a need to drill this out there on a single coil. This is it vapes like an animal. It just does. I mean, on the cotton setup that Mr. Bratton's got set up, it speaks for itself. It's just mini clouds.
Mini clouds. I could do big clouds if I wanted to. Yeah, it's just. I mean, that's the easy setup again. Rip Trippers gets all and every bit of what am I looking for? Oh, bloody hell. You know what I'm saying, guys. He gets all the credit. Rip Trippers gets all the credit for that. I mean, obviously Rip Trippers tends to do normal ohm micros. We've been doing sub-ohm micros. We've been using a very thick wire. 0.5, sort of 0.42 times more. 0.5, 0.42. And it's been giving us the resistance we tend to use, but in a micro form. Flavour seems to be better, the vapour's better off of it. So, yeah. Again, guys, always comes with a warning. Make sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to delve into sub-ohm, check your batteries and so on and so forth. I have vaped this at normal resistances. I had this set up with 2.5 ohm coil the other day actually, on my Bamo box, and I've got to say, hitting really well. It wasn't quite as a warm vape, obviously, with the big air hole open, but it's still a very, very good vape, and you could still blow some clouds with it at normal resistances. 2.5 ohms is much higher than I ever delve usually, especially on a rebuildable. So yeah, that is what it is. I've actually been using this for about 2 or 3 weeks now. Very good. It's become my go-to sort of dripper, to be honest with you. But that we'll get in more into detail. I don't doubt when we get into the sort of 5-point hitter. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's so far. Should we get to a fiver?
You go.
Yeah. Alright, do you want me to go first?
Go on.
Looks. Obviously, all credit for the looks goes to Grand Vapor. There's no two ways about it. I mean, the credit of all of that setup, barring the drip tip, goes to a Grand Vapor. Looks is. I do like it. I'm not going to lie, I do like it. I'm going to give it a 9. Yeah, I think it's very good looking.
Yeah, Mr. Brown does prefer these ribbed devices. It's not my preference, but the ribs on this certain dripper are not as pronounced as the ones on some other types you can get out there, and it's still not my preference, but it's not bad looking when you actually get it up close. It looks worse on the pictures than it does up close. I mean, probably the same for you if you're watching this. It probably looks a little bit garish if you're not into that sort of look, but when you actually look at it, it's not as pronounced as it looks, as it seems. But I'm going to give it a 7.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. It's a personal preference thing, guys. You can see it. One thing to bear in mind, though, as well pointed out, when you're looking at it on camera, it can say you are looking at it. I mean, even when I look at it like this, I can't see as much as I can on camera. It's scrutinous detail when you're on the camera. But yeah, I like the thing. I just do. 21mm, which is a shame because it's so close to the 22, but not quite. But there you go. That is it. Looks a personal thing. You can make up your own mind about that. Usability. Am I going first? I'll go first. Usability. Now, typically it'd be like, oh, it's a dual core dripper. It's whatever you want it to be. Dual, single, quad, whatever you want it to be. And all of them builds, in my opinion, are going to be easier because you can remove them post when they've got slits in them. Again, the design's down to ground vapor, so they get credit for it. But usability of the thing's getting a 10 straight away from me, no questions asked. Yeah,
I've got to agree. Just the fact you can take off those screws and just plop in your build, you haven't got to try and thread it through holes or anything. I mean, like we always said, like the DDA was one of the easiest strippers to rebuild. No, this is 10 times easier. You ain't got to worry about trying to slot it in, anything like twisting it up round the top, slot it in, screw it down, twist it off, done job. It is idiot proof. It just is. As long as you can wrap a coil installing it, no problem. Yeah, it's a 10. It just is.
There you go. Especially if you use the method that I've just used, whether you use the same resistance wire or not is irrelevant. I mean, the same kind of wraps with a different resistance wire is going to give you different ohms. So if you was using, say 28 gauge, or the 28 gauge, 0.32, if you're English, not that we use that. Then your resistance will be more like 1.5-ish ohms. So for those of you that want the experience and prefer the micro, then you are straight out of Rip Tripper's credit book, and again, all of it goes to him for that build. But that's another way you can do it using the same technique. Alright, it's just this is where we prefer to ohm. Micro and sub are still different in my opinion. So maintenance. If you're using the build that I have, I pull cotton out, rinse it all, dry burn it, blow it off, stick it back in. If you're using a silica setup, wrap a coil, chuck it in, and then wash it. You've got obviously 4 parts if you include a drip tip, because you do get a drip tip included. It's not necessarily my preference, but I don't think it's a bad drip tip. I will use it in other devices. I think it looks quite nice on RSST, something like that. Maintenance is pretty easy. All the parts are quite big and they're all easy to clean. Just screw them screws down before you chuck it under the sink. Maintenance is going to get 10 for me. It's not really much more you can do with it.
Yeah, guys. I mean, I think with all drippers, the only small parts in the drippers are the actual screws. Generally, there's nothing else you're going to have. Like maybe 1 or 2 tops, depending if you've got a twisty bit to change the air feed and whatever. And then you've got a base. With generally, it's going to be 2 screws, but if you're using a dual core or possible dual core setup, you've got 3. Just make sure they're tightened. Give it a good rinse under the tap, hot or cold. Preferably hot first to get rid of all those juices, and then rinse it with a little bit of cold just to get, make sure it's all clean and everything. 10, just is. They're easy to maintain. They really are.
There you go. Flavour and vapour. For me, actually, I think I'll chuck build quality in very quickly just because I feel like it. Build quality on it. For the price, it's very good. To be honest with you, it feels well built. The O-rings are gargantuan, guys. Just be aware of that. I mean, I've had this 3 or 4 weeks. Been using it I was using it exclusively for over a week, and they're still not properly broken in. I know a lot of guys are removing one of the O-rings, and again, if you want to do that, go for it. It's up to you, it's yours. I like the fact it's got both O-rings. It's tight on there. It's not coming off in any way, shape or form. This is where it goes doing. But build quality for a tenner, you can't go wrong. Honestly, it feels solid. It's quite a heavy little thing.
It's stainless, isn't it?
Yeah, stainless. But it's nice, and you can turn it. It's quite stiff again because the O-rings, once I've had a chance to break in properly, yeah, build quality to 10 for the price, definitely.
Yeah, it's all stainless. It's heavy. It's going to be good wearing and highly durable. So 10. Flavour and vapour.
flavour and vapour. This is going to be totally dependent on a lot of things. Usually it's dependent on your build, okay? With this, that's not the case. It's still dependent on your build, but that's not the only thing it's dependent on, because you've got adjustable air feed, you've got multiple setups. It really is going to depend on what you put in it. If you stick kind of this kind of coil and have it on 2.5, the flavour is about a 7 and the vapour is like an 11. If you stick it on the smaller air hole, the vapour is still actually very good. The vapour will still be a 10. The flavour will intensify slightly. The chamber in there is actually quite small when you put the top and bottom in, it reduces it all. But at its best, flavour and vapour can both be 10s quite happily.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's going to be depending on where you're sitting with this device. It's going to go up and down depending on what you're doing with it or your build in general. So once you get a good build in there, you find out where you want to be, you can tailor it to what you want. If you want more vapour, you want a cloud chase, do it. If you want less vapour, but it's not going to be that much less, and more flavour, do it.
There you go.
It's a change in value, that one, and I'm not going to stick it on anything. It's just going to be change it to where you want it. Will be my recommendation on that.
Overall for me, 10. I'm very happy with it. I'm not going to lie. There's very little I'd change about it, to be honest with you. I'd like it if the screws inside felt slightly more sturdy. It's not that they feel flimsy by any means, but it can never be too hard, can it? But apart from that, there's very little I can change about it. The O-rings are a bit tight, and even now I still have to heavily juice them to get them on flush, and even still it can be a problem, as you see in the video. But it's a 1-1 clone of it. There's very little difference in terms of just how it looks and sort of slots together. Yeah, it's got to be a 10. I'd definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I do like the device. I just don't like the look of it, so I won't buy it. And I like to mix and match my stuff. It's kind of how I choose to vape, which is my choice. If you like the look of this, buy it. I'm not going to regret it. It's just going to be one of those ones where you get it and just be like, this is awesome. And the price you pay for it, you're not going to worry if for some reason you lose or break or do whatever to it, because you know for another 10 you can buy another one.
Yeah. There you go. That's what it is. Whole clone thing, guys. We've been through it several times. Refer to the Chi-Yu, refer to the Nemesis, refer to anything like that. Hasn't gone up, is it? No. Refer to other stuff and things that we've done if you want to know our standpoint in clones. It'd be nice if they took the ground vapor logo off of it, because it's so small you can't even fucking see the thing, and then it would be a bit better. But yeah, it's up to you guys. Your money, your choice. You do what you like with it. Yeah, we definitely recommend it. Obviously, Fast Tech again. We're addicted. But yeah, Fast Tech again, guys. Obviously, check them out if you haven't. I imagine most of you have though by now. You really can't go wrong with this little device. It's wicked stuff. I've not really got much more to say on it, to be honest with you. We're smashing these reviews out today.
Good device.
It is.
Take it as you will.
There you go. If you like drippers, there are slightly better for flavour. Even at its best, there are slightly better for flavour. But the amount of options you got with this is wicked. It is. And again, goes to ground vapor to credit. But yeah, you can't knock it for the amount of options you've got. If you're someone who just likes to drip and have a comfortable little vape, and you like a tight air drawer, it can give you that, and then you can go from that to chasing monumental clouds if you choose to, without having to change device. All you've got to do is turn it around and put another coil in it, which you can do with a coil already in it. You just undo the positive, leave the negative where it is, and that'll hold the coil. Just slot another one in, whip your cotton out if that's what you're using, get them even, and then re-cotton it. It's I love the amount of options it's got to do. I think it's wicked, and I really enjoy using it, and I think you would too if you're into this kind of device. So thumbs up for it, guys. What more can we say? Thank you very much for watching. I've been Mr. Proton. This has been The Worm. See you soon.